It could be an act of war.
It does say in the very beginning there has to be a declared war against a nation or a state. That's what it says.
No, wrong.
So,
but this is a very important
Stephen.
question because no, hold on. And I asked you a question, you never answered it. Can a judge enjoin troop movements overseas? Can a district court judge enjoin troop movements overseas?
Stephen,
yes or no?
I am not going to get into the
just say no, and then you'll know that I'm right.
This is a
just
separate
say no,
question,
and you'll know that
Stephen.
I'm right.
Okay, we're not.
It is a total shame that CNN will not have Stephen Miller on anymore. It's Sean Daniel here. If you enjoyed that intro, make sure you hit that like button. And with all the big dogs returning to D.C. this week, including Stephen Miller, Tom Homan, and all the congressional people after their summer vacation in August, what better way to get hyped up about the Trump administration than to watch Stephen Miller go nuclear on a CNN liberal? If you love seeing these, make sure you subscribe for more. Now let's go.
Stephen Miller, the White House Deputy Chief of Staff, is here with me now. Stephen, thanks very much for being in the arena.
Glad to. Thank you.
So you called the judge's order just earlier today, quote, patently unlawful, end quote, and said that it was an assault on democracy itself. Stephen Miller, the White House Deputy Chief of Staff, is here with me now. Stephen, thanks very much for being in the arena.
Glad to. Thank you.
So you called the judge's order just earlier today, quote, patently unlawful, end quote, and said that it was an assault on democracy itself. Does that mean that the administration is ignoring this order, and might you ignore future court orders that meet the criteria you laid out?
The President of the United States and his administration reserve all rights under the Constitution to conduct national security operations in defense of the United States. The Alien Enemies Act, which was passed into law by the founding generation of this country, men like John Adams, was written explicitly to give the President the authority to repel an alien invasion of the United States. That is not something that a district court judge has any authority whatsoever to interfere with, to enjoin, to restrict, or to restrain any way. You can read the law yourself. There's not one clause in that law that makes it subject to judicial review, let alone district court review.
So, Stephen, when you say that this person has no authority at all, this is how our system works. It starts with these judges and then continues up. At what point does it become, in your view, legal for the justice system to be looking at this and making a judgment? And I fail to see how there's any other way but to start with where we're starting here before you get to eventually the Supreme Court.
Well, so first of all, there's a term in law, justiciable. This is not justiciable. In other words, this is not subject to judicial remedy. When the president is exercising his Article II powers to defend the country against an invasion or to repel a foreign terrorist that is unlawfully in the country, he's exercising his core Article II powers as commander-in-chief.
Is Venezuela invading the U.S.?
This is a very important point. This is a Title 50 authority. It's a commander-in-chief authority. So just to ask you a simple question, you talk about how the system works. Does a district court judge have the right to direct or enjoin troop movements overseas? Yes or no?
Well, Stephen, my question,
well, no,
if you could answer my question first,
in other words,
is Venezuela invading our country in a way that would apply this way?
So I'll answer yours and you'll answer mine. Under the terms of the statute, Tren de Aragua is an alien enemy force that has come here as detailed at length in the proclamation at the direction of the Venezuelan government. The statute says that a president has the ability to repel an invasion or predatory incursion that is directed by a foreign government.
By a state or a government, right? Are they a state or a government?
This would be, yes, it is documented that TDA was sent by the Venezuelan government in the proclamation. And here's an even more important point. Under the Constitution, who makes that determination? A district court judge elected by no one, or the commander-in-chief of the Army and Navy? The president and the president alone makes a decision of what triggers that determination.
So do you then think we
statute.
are actually at war with Venezuela, the nation state of Venezuela?
You're not hearing me and you're not understanding me. Read the statute, Alien Enemies Act, 1798. It says if a predatory incursion is perpetrated by a foreign government, so it lists three qualifying actions. It could be an act of war.
It does say in the very beginning there has to be a declared war against a nation or a state. That's what it says.
No, wrong. Look up the statute. It's on my account on social
That's
media.
actually where we
Everyone can
found
go
it
see
earlier.
Yes, it says or a predatory incursion or an invasion. The statute delineates 3 criteria for triggering the Alien Enemies Act. One is an act of war, which, by the way, an invasion is an act of war, but put that aside. One is an invasion, which this is. One is a predatory incursion, which this is. So it actually meets all 3 statutory criteria. But with respect to this particular statute, the proclamation is utilizing the incursion and invasion language in the statute.
So,
but this is a very
picture,
important
Stephen.
question, because no, hold on. It's a very important question. You said the way our system works is the President of the United States commands the armed forces of the country, commands the foreign policy of the country, and that's subject to district court review. That is fundamentally untrue.
I never said that, Stephen. I did not say.
That has never been true.
This was not a military operation. I mean,
a district court judge can no more enjoin the expulsion of foreign terrorists to foreign soil that he can direct the movement of Air Force One, that he can direct the movement of an aircraft carrier, that he can direct Marco Rubio to engage in diplomacy in a country or not.
Do you think the Supreme Court has any say over this or not? Like, does the Supreme Court of the United States have any say over the things that you were just outlining right here?
I believe what the Supreme Court will say is what I just said, which is that the president's conduct here is not subject to judicial review.
Okay, but you are acknowledging that they do, in fact, have a say here, even though you think they may agree with you.
What we are expecting is the Supreme Court to say what has always been the case, which is when the president is using his powers as commander-in-chief, those determinations are not subject to judicial review. In other words, the president's designation of Trinidad as a foreign terrorist organization and as an alien enemy are part of his inherent plenary authority. There is no way.
At what point in the system, Stephen,
how are you going to expel? Hold on. How are you going to expel illegal alien invaders from our country who are raping little girls, who are murdering little girls, if each and every deportation has to be adjudicated in a district court judge? That means you have no country. It means you have no sovereignty. It means you have no future. It is fundamentally incompatible to have a country and have individual expulsions adjudicated by a single district court judge.
I'm just trying to figure out at what point in the system.
I let that go on for a while because he was just cooking her. And now do you see why he has not been on CNN in months? They do not want to let him go on there and just obliterate their host. This guy is a brainiac. She wants to try to talk law because some producer and other people on her team have showcased to her some possible loopholes in the Trump administration argument. She's going up against a law guy, and a genius law guy who is the main author, if you will, of some of these Trump policies and movements. That is a bad idea, honey. Bad idea. And it's funny, when he does that little shoulder twist when he gets ready and he's like, does the head nod? You're like, oh man, she better look out. She better look out.
What does the Trump administration believe? Because we do have separation of powers in this country. I hear what you're saying.
Yes,
you're saying
separation
the
of powers.
Court does
this
not
is the judiciary
have
interfering
Stephen,
in
let me finish.
the executive function.
That
is the separation of powers. That is the separation of powers.
Did you ignore the judge's order here because you thought you could?
So the judge's order and the actions taken by the Departments of Defense, Justice, and Homeland Security are not in conflict. And the Department of Justice has been clear that they are not in conflict. But
so you think that you did go along with the order that the judge put out? You do not think that the Trump administration defied this order?
As the Justice Department said, there is no conflict between the judge's order and the actions taken by the departments I just listed. But I'm making a deeper and more fundamental point.
Yeah.
The district court
if you
has
don't have
no
to follow
ability.
It, why didn't you?
The district court has no ability to in any way restrain the president's authorities under the Alien Enemies Act or his ability to conduct the foreign affairs of the United States. Let me paint a picture for you.
Whoa. Watch how much she blinks while he's asking this question. It shows you just how triggered she's getting and irritated. Watch this.
Or his ability to conduct the foreign affairs of the United States. Let me paint a picture for you. President Trump and Secretary of State Marco Rubio had engaged in intensive diplomacy to obtain a bilateral security agreement with the nation of El Salvador. If a district court judge can enjoin that bilateral security agreement, then we do not have a democracy.
Stephen, you've made your argument.
We do not have a foreign policy.
We've heard you say this. Did you ignore, did the administration ignore the order from the district judge? It's a simple question.
I've answered And I've answered it. I've answered it because the Department of Justice has made a filing in the court. But let me make another point. The judge, in this case, put the lives of every single person on those aircraft at risk. Did he know how much fuel was in those planes? Did he know the flight conditions? Did he know the weather conditions? Did he know how many crew hours? Did he know the need for crew rest? Did he know any of that? No. This judge violated the law. He violated the Constitution.
So do
he
you
defied
think that
the system of government that we have in this country.
Because that does seem to be what you're arguing here.
These same district court judges didn't do a damn thing to stop Joe Biden from flooding this nation with millions of illegal aliens. Do these district court judges didn't issue any injunctions to save the lives of Jocelyn Nungary or Laken Riley or anyone
the federal
else?
courts? Is that what you're saying?
What I'm saying is that what you said, there's a separation of powers. The judiciary exercises judgment and relief.
I don't speak for the White House. You are here to speak You're here to speak for the White House. I just want you to answer that one simple question.
I am. Ready? Here we go. Under a proper reading of the Constitution, district court judges provide relief to individual plaintiffs seeking relief. District court judges do not have the authority, as a general matter, to enjoin the functioning of the executive branch. But their authority is at its lowest point when the president is exercising his powers as commander-in-chief. And I asked you a question, you never answered it. Can a judge enjoin troop movements overseas? Can a district court judge enjoin troop movements overseas?
Stephen,
yes or no?
I am not going to get into the
just say no, and then you'll know that I'm right.
This is a
just
separate
say no,
question,
and you'll know that
Stephen.
I'm right.
Okay, we're not talking about other troops
the
overseas.
president,
I need to ask you about something else.
The president issued a proclamation delineating in detail how the Venezuelan regime sent this gang, this terrorist organization, to our shores. And by the way, and I love being here, but all the outrage that we are seeing from the Democrat Party and from the corporate media, none of that outrage was expressed when little Jocelyn Nungary was tortured and beaten to death. None of that outrage was expressed when our nation was flooded by illegal aliens.
I have just been simply trying to get a simple answer to a simple question. No outrage necessary about whether or not the White House is ahead of the courts.
But I am.
But I need to ask you one more question. I'm going to have to let you go.
Democrats defending Trinidad, instead of celebrating President Trump expelling these terrorists from our midst. And I'm glad for the opportunity to explain how the separation of powers does work. If the president has to litigate every national security action with 700 district court judges, then we don't have a functioning democracy.
Why was that so impressive beyond the amazing things he's able to articulate and explain? Is because he kept track after a 10-minute interview on the pressure of being on live TV, being a main representative for the White House. He remembered that she did not answer his question from 8 minutes ago, while still going off and explaining all this other stuff with constitutional power, district court judges, and responding to her questions while he's trying to talk. He was able to remember that and recall that. I found that so impressive. I found that impressive. And it was funny and you could see just how irritated she was getting by how many times she was blinking, like I showed you guys, and she kept trying to jump in. This tells me a lot about who the corporate media does and doesn't want to have on, because of how, after rewatching this interview with you guys, it shows me just how much of a powerhouse Stephen Miller is, because we have not seen him on CNN or anything in a long time. Which means the powers that be at CNN, the producers or whatever, or the DNC that maybe makes some calls to CNN, they don't like the impact of Stephen Miller and these other big dogs going on CNN, going on CBS, going on MSNBC. Because if they did like them coming on, they would have them on more, right? But why have we not seen Stephen Miller on these shows in a long time? Probably because he eviscerates them like this.
One other question about the president's power today. It's on a slightly different topic, but we saw President Trump's comments about the use of the auto pen, the pardons that President Biden signed. And I just want to know from you, has President Trump ever used an auto pen to sign official documents, either in his first term or since he took office a second time?
Well, I've seen President Trump hand sign every executive order my whole time, and every part.
Have you ever seen him use an auto pen?
For him. But more, President Trump signs every single critical government function document. But here's the more important point about that, even more important. The more important point is that President Trump personally directs every single federal government policy.
Right, but has
President
he ever
Trump
signed anything
personally
with an
directs,
AutoPen?
to my knowledge, every single executive order, every single proclamation, every single major government action, every single thing that affects the lives, safety, and livelihoods of the American people that comes out of the executive office of the president, he has signed. But more importantly, he has directed,
signed without
he
the
has
AutoPen.
briefed, he has been involved in. And this is the most important point. It's not just that Joe Biden used the AutoPen. It's that he didn't know it. He was not briefed on it. He was not aware of it. He did not approve it. He was not mentally aware of what the government was doing.
If we're talking about the legality of something signed with an AutoPen or not, I'm just trying to figure out if there's anything President Trump signed.
The key point is, but you're missing
Stephen,
it.
I'm so sorry we're running out of time here. I do appreciate how much time you have spent with me,
Biden didn't know what was being signed in his name.
All right.
That's the key
point. I understand what you are saying.
The funny thing is she actually had fun doing the interview. You can see it on her face. It was like, dang, this is a really good test battle. Because a lot of the other times, like when we watch Scott Bessent, when we watch Kevin Hassett, you know, they're not really as aggressive. Like we watched the Dr. Gorka interview that you guys saw a few days ago. That was fun. I bet that these interviewers, when they have a little bit of a battle, she actually enjoyed it. It's kind of like when you piss off your woman, you know, you tease her a little bit. She might get a little irritated and have a little fluster about her, but she kind of likes it. And it's kind of the same thing with the CNN host. She kind of enjoyed this interview. And I hope you guys did as well. It's Sean Daniel here. If you enjoyed the video, consider subscribing for more of these or checking out another CNN host getting destroyed by checking out this Tom Homan versus Caitlin Collins video, and hope to see you there. Oh man, I accidentally put salt in my coffee. Oh.